Hi, you guys, and welcome back to another episode of a Tailor-Made Life podcast, where every conversation is one step closer to designing the life that God has for you. I am your host, Taylor Renee, and as always, I'm so excited to have you back here with me. The last 2 to 3 weeks, I've been recording on my iPhone. Full transparency, I've been on the struggle bus, okay? My camera decided that it wanted to take a dip in the Atlantic Ocean, and I had to suffer as a result of that. So we're back. We have our mic. We have our camera. We're back in full effect. And we're back with another great episode. So let's just get into it, shall we? Now, this past few weeks, have been pretty rough for me. Like, I've been feeling exhausted. I've been feeling like I'm pouring from an empty cup, right? Like overwhelmed, overstimulated, having to deal with all the curveballs of life while still managing and prioritizing, myself, trying to find some stability within all of that. Throughout that time, there was something that I came to terms with. It was something so pressing that I was kind of saying to my friends, I'm saying it to my family, I'm saying it to them, saying it to everybody, and I'm like, I wonder if that would make a good podcast episode. And I think it will. So here it is, right? Every single day, right? Every day we have a multitude of decisions that we have to make. When we wake up, are we going to work out? Are we going to pray? What are we going to eat? What are we going to wear? Decisions upon decisions, right? I think one of the most important decisions, though, one of the most important things that we have to decide every single day is what we are going to believe, right? Are we going to believe the truth? Or are we going to believe the lie? Now, whatever you believe, whatever you choose, will eventually show up in your life. Now, you're deciding to believe the truth, that will show up in your decisions. It will show up in your thoughts. It'll show up in your actions. It'll show up in how you treat people, how you perceive, how you do your work. You believing in the truth, it will show up. You believing in the lie also will show up. It will show up in how you treat people, how you talk to people, what you say to yourself, how you feel about yourself, right? The lie and the truth show up the most often in our day. And lately, I've had to make the decision over and over again to believe in the truth. And that has been my motto for the past 3 weeks, right? It's like, I'm believing in the truth about my life. I'm believing what God says about me. I'm believing in the truth about your life. I'm believing in the truth. Right? And it's not about hearing the good things, right? It's not just hearing what you want to hear or saying things will always work out or believing in the good things all the time, right? But the absolute, undisputed truth about what God has said about our lives, about who we are, and not letting the circumstances and the current feelings, the current emotions, the current things that are happening take control over how I feel about the truth. My decision. And then to also make the decision, right, to surrender and submit myself under the authority of that truth that I said that I believed, right? And so now I think when we talk about believing in the good things about our lives, right, I don't want it to get misconstrued. I don't want anybody to get confused about what I'm saying here, because oftentimes it can be masked with the identity of optimism. Now, being an optimist is a great thing. I'm not against optimism at all, right? But I'm not talking about optimism right now. I'm not talking about, looking at things from a more positive perspective, right? Because optimism says that everything is going to work out exactly how I want it to. Optimism is saying that things are going to work out exactly how I want them to. Things are going to, don't worry about it. Things are going to work out. Like, don't be so negative about it. Things are going to be okay. You're going to be fine. Everything's going to be cool. Everything's going to work out. Like, that's optimism, right? Truth, what I'm talking about, truth says that even if this doesn't work out how I want it to, right? Even if things don't go my way, if I don't get the promotion, if I don't get the job, if I get, even if I don't get the friendship or the husband or the wife or whatever I'm hoping for in this season, God is still who he said he is, right? That is the truth. That is the belief of the truth, right? Because optimism is wavering. Optimism says that, oh, nothing bad is going to happen, right? Nothing bad is going to happen. Like you're going to be fine. You're going to be okay. Truth says, on the other hand, that hardship will come. Trials, tribulations, disappointment, heartbreak, all of those things are coming. They are coming. But those things do not have the authority to redefine what God has said about your life. Right? Like they don't have the authority to reconstruct what God has already said, what he's already put forth, what he's already set in motion. Your current circumstances don't have anything to do with that, right? And so the truth, if we're breaking it down, right, the truth isn't biased, right? The truth doesn't change depend on how you feel when you wake up, or if we have a bad day at work, or if somebody doesn't like us, so they're talking about us, right? Or, it doesn't change because we're disappointed with where we are in our lives. It doesn't change because something has come up that has inconvenienced us, right? The truth is unwavering. It is the foundation of life. It's the thing that we're all seeking. We're all looking for truth. And the truth has already been proclaimed. It's already been said. And so I think when we're looking for something that has already been found, right, that has already been said, that has already been established, now we're having to make the decision. And so if I say that I believe that what God has said is true, then I have a decision to make. Am I going to adjust my thoughts, my actions, my words, my perspective according to that truth? Right? Am I going to adjust my life according to the truth that I know, that I believe in? Now, I want to make sure that when I say that I'm choosing to believe the truth about my life, that I'm not just saying that everything is going to be rainbows and lollipops, right? We can't negate those experiences. We can't negate what's currently happening. And I talked about that in the previous episode where we discussed acceptance, right? And the idea, the concept behind something happening to you and having to live through it cannot be dismissed. My prayer all the time, I was like, God, I'm the one who's living this life. I'm the one who has to go through this, so it cannot be dismissed. And it's not supposed to. That's not his intention for us to be dismissive of the things that are happening in our lives, or to be naive enough to believe that nothing else is coming, right? So I'm not negating the troubles that could lie ahead of me, but I'm also not falling short to them as well. Right? I can acknowledge that something is difficult without allowing that difficulty to become the defining truth of my life. Right? Like, just because it's raining today doesn't mean it's going to be raining tomorrow. Right? Like, just because I'm feeling inadequate today doesn't mean that I'm not good enough. Doesn't mean that God has not fulfilled my purpose. Right? And so I can say that this season is hard without believing that God has abandoned me. Does that make sense? Like, I can say that things are not happening according to my timeline without saying that God has forgotten about me, that God has forsaken me, because knowing the truth is knowing that God does not forsake us. Right? So it's allowing myself to then justify the truth that I already believe without believing in the lie. And that's the difference. The circumstances can be real. The lies can be there without them becoming my truth. The circumstance can be there without them becoming our truth, without them becoming the foundation of what we stand on. And so, for example, right, like last week, it was always something, like I said, these past few weeks have been pretty rough for me. But last week, I had a show and it was kind of rough. I went through a string of emotions where I was starting to feel inadequate, right? And like I wasn't good enough. Like I was just there to be there. Like this, was just some fluke from some doozy that I was there, right? And I remember those thoughts becoming so loud, so overwhelming, so bombarding. Like it felt like I was being jumped. Like it almost drove me to tears. Because it just felt like there was a never-ending cycle of negativity swirling, manifesting itself in my mind. And I think that's what happens to a lot of us sometimes, right? Where our circumstances, the things, the hardships become so loud. They become so disturbing to where it makes the truth sounds like a whisper. The truth becomes so hard to hear and even harder to believe because the lie feels like it has evidence. The lie feels like we can justify it right here, right now. You know, you can always look around you. You can look at your life and say, you know what? See, I knew I wasn't good enough, right? The proof is there, right? It looks like God doesn't care about you. You've been praying to get out of this situation, out of this trial or circumstance. In my case, I've been praying for about this job. I've been praying to just deliver me and to help me in this. And I still end up messing up. I still end up making mistakes. Something still goes wrong. I'm still feeling inadequate. And it's easy to just say, you know what, God, like, man, see, I knew I wasn't good enough. Like, I knew this wasn't for me. I don't know why you put me here. It's easy to fill your mind up with those lies. And that is why believing in the truth requires a decision. It requires a hard yes or no. Because it's easy to believe in the lie. So after that, you know, I had to take a beat, right? Like I had to take a beat. I had to go for a walk, touch some grass, you know, feel the sun. Like I had to kind of just get out of that current mindset. And I had to then intentionally fill my mind with truth. Now, what does that look like? For me, it looks like prayer. But it felt like almost like as if I had to snap out of something, right? Like my dad, you know, he calls it standing up within yourself. But it's like I had to snap out of it, right? It's participating in that process, right? Because I had to then change my environment. I had to ask for the help. I had to, again, intentionally put the truth back in the forefront of my mind. And God then met me there, right? And so what I want us to know and understand is that God's sovereignty, God's ability to reign does not eliminate us of our responsibilities. Just because God reigns, just because he is all knowing and all doing and all being, right, does not mean that we have no part to play in it. It doesn't eliminate us from the responsibility that he has entrusted us with. And so we have free will, we have the ability. If you want to believe in the truth, you have it, right? You know the truth. If you want to believe it, if you don't know the truth, then it's there. It's available for you. It's in the Bible. God has laid it out for us, right? But it's, again, we have to participate in it. We have to participate in our success. We have to participate in our deliverance. We have to have a role. We have responsibility in it. God works in partnership with us, right? He comes in, he steps in and does the things that we cannot do. We do what we can do, and God does what we cannot do, right? So we still have decisions to make. We still have quote unquote work to do, right? We have to participate in the transformation of our minds. It doesn't just come. God doesn't just lift our minds up and say, oh, here we are. He doesn't just put $1 million in your lap. You have to participate in it, right? Here's the part where it becomes extremely important in our working lives, because whatever you believe about yourself will eventually show up in the way that you work, right? If I believe that I'm inadequate, if I sat there and continued to believe that those lies that were swarming in my mind, guess what? It would have ruined my whole entire day. I would have been sour to people. I would have been quiet. I would have been destitute. I would have been just making the room funky with my attitude, right? And so how do you behave when you're believing in the lie, right? Does it mean that you don't speak up in your meetings? Does it mean that you overthink every little mistake? I do. When I'm believing a lie that day, I'm overthinking everything. I'm overanalyzing, overprocessing, beating myself up. That's how I know I'm believing lies, right? I'm comparing myself around to everyone else. Like, how do you evaluate yourself and your actions, your emotions, when you are deciding to believe in the lie? When you've taken the easy road out, how do you act? How do you feel, right? And so the ability to transform, again, your thoughts, transform your mind is a process that I do differently, that I show up differently because I'm standing on a different foundation. And so it's almost as if changing your mind, changing your default settings, right? You know, your setting on your phone where you know, you set your pictures up. So every single time your pictures automatically they have a default setting, right? So it's the idea of changing your mind to those default settings. Going into this, and I say this all the time, where it's like believing in the truth is the anchor, right? And so, for example, before I go and talk to somebody, or you know, if I have something to say, or if I want to express my opinion about someone or their lives or whatever, I always caution it so that the person knows my heart, right? So I'm not quick to speak on people and speak to people about things in life and whatever the case is. Why? Because they don't know where I'm coming from. They don't know my heart. We don't have a rapport, right? So how they take what I'm going to say, it could be out of context. Okay? So if you believe in the truth, right? So if the truth is the foundation of your thoughts, if the truth is the anchoring thing of your mind, right, then the circumstances and the things that come next are filtered through that lens, right? So when I tell somebody, hey, I'm saying this with love, or hey, no, you know, I don't have any ill will, I don't have any ill intention, I'm saying this because here's what I've noticed, right? It allows them to then process the information through a better lens, right? So it's the same thing here. If we believe in the truth, then now whatever happens next, whatever comes next in my life, right, I'm also processing that information through the lens of truth. My anchor is different. So if I believe already that that all of these things work out for my good and for the glory of God, then okay, if I don't get the job, if I don't get the promotion, then that means, now I can either look at it from a lens of lies, or I can look at it from a lens of truth. I can say, hey, okay, yeah, I didn't get the promotion. Okay, yeah, I didn't get the job. Okay, cool. Now, does this say that I'm inadequate? Does this say that I'm not good enough? Or does this say that God doesn't want that for me right now? Which one will you believe? It's altering your default settings. It's altering the anchoring of your mind. What is the foundation that you believe in? Because some people, like I said, it's easy to just believe that when bad things happen, when hardship and trials and tribulations come, that it's a coincidence, or that it's something that we could take personally, or that it's something that, oh, people have it out for me, or whatever the case is. When it's like, no, nobody has it out for you. God has it in for you, right? Like God has more for you, but it's deciding to believe in that, deciding to believe in the truth, right? And so, yeah, I think that ultimately, man, and I'm probably going to do a part 2 on this, because there's a few more factors that go into it, right? Because I you know, again, I don't want us to confuse that for being lazy. This message isn't about allowing yourself to succumb to the things of life, right? This message is about anchoring yourself, anchoring your mind in some sort of truth, in the truth that God has set before you.